The knowledge and the attributes of the holy, chapter 21. The holiness of God. Glory be to God on high. We praise thee, we bless thee, we worship thee. For thy great glory, Lord, I uttered that I understood not things too wonderful for me which I knew not. I heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now mine eye seeth thee, and I abhor myself in dust and ashes. O Lord, I will lay my hand upon my mouth. Once have I spoken ye, twice, but I will proceed no further. But while I was musing, the fire burned. Lord, I must speak of thee, lest by my silence I offend against the generation of thy children. Behold, thou hast chosen the foolish things of the world to be confound the wise, and the weak things of the world to confound the mighty. O Lord, forsake me not. Let me show forth thy strength unto this generation, and thy power to every one that is to come. Raise up prophets and seers in thy church, who shall magnify thy glory, and through thine almighty Spirit restore to thy people the knowledge of the holy. Amen. The moral shock suffered by us through our mighty break with the high will of heaven has left us all with a permanent trauma affecting every part of our nature. There is this disease both in ourselves and in our environment. The sudden realization of his personal depravity came like a stroke from heaven upon the trembling heart of Isaiah at the moment when he had his revolutionary vision of the holiness of the living God. His pain-filled cry, "Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts," expresses the feeling of every man who has discovered himself under his disguises and has been confronted with an inward side of the holy witness that is the living God. Such an experience cannot but be emotionally violent until we have seen ourselves as God sees us. We are not likely to be much disturbed over conditions around us as long as they do not get so far out of hand as to threaten our comfortable way of life. Well, that is the whole point. That threat is now rapidly going on and is rapidly spreading all over the world, this threat of losing the false comfort of the false life. The principalities, the demonic blanket that has been laid over this world and over each one of us is closing the net, so to speak. We have learned to live with unholiness and have come to look upon it as the natural and expecting thing. We are not disappointed that we do not find all truth in our teachers of faith, fullness in our politicians, or complete honesty in our merchants, or full trustworthiness in our friends. That we may continue to exist, we make such laws as are necessary to protect us from our fellow man, and let it go at that. Well, it's not what I say The laws are not there to protect our fellow men, but the laws are there so that the 1% at the top is being protected against the majority. God's holiness is not simply the best we know, infinitely bettered. We know nothing like the divine holiness. It stands apart, unique, unapproachable, incomprehensible, and unattainable. The natural man is blind to it. He may fear God's power and admire his wisdom, but his holiness he cannot even imagine. Only the Spirit of the Holy One can impart to the human spirit the knowledge of the holy, yet as electric power flows only through a conductor, so the Spirit flows through truth and must find same measure of truth in the mind before he can illuminate the heart. Faith wakes at the voice of truth, but responds to no other sound. So faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the living God. Theological knowledge is the medium through which the Spirit flows into the human heart, yet there must be humble penitence in the heart before truth can produce faith. The Spirit of God is the Spirit of truth. It is possible to have some truth in the mind without having the Spirit in the heart, but it is never possible to have the Spirit apart from truth. In his penetrating study of the holy, Rudolf Otto makes a strong case for the presence in the human mind of something he names the numinous, by which apparently he means the sense that there is in the world a fake, incomprehensible something, the mysterium tremendum, the awesome mystery surrounding and enfolding the universe. This is an awful thing, and can never be intellectually conceived, only sensed and felt in the depths of the human spirit. So it remains as a permanent religious instinct, a feeling for that unnamed, undiscoverable presence that runs quicksilver-like through creation's veins and sometimes stuns the mind by confronting it with a supernatural, super-rational manifestation of itself. The man thus confronted is brought down and overwhelmed and can only tremble and be silent. This non-rational dread, this feeling for the uncreated mystery in the world, is back of all religion, the pure religion of the Bible, no less than the basest animism of the naked tribesman, exists only because this basic instinct is present in human nature. Of course, the difference between the religion of an Isaiah or a Paul and that of the animist is that one has truth and the other has not. He has only the numinous instinct. He feels after an unknown God, but an Isaiah and a Paul have found the true God through his own self-disclosure in the Spirit, in the inspired scriptures. So the feeling for mystery, even for the great mystery, is basic in human nature and indispensable to religious faith. But it is not enough. Because of it, men may whisper that awful thing, but they do not cry. They do not cry, "Mine Holy One." In the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, God carries forward his self-revelation and gives its personality and moral content. This awful presence is shown to be not a thing, but a moral being. All the warm qualities of genuine personality. More than this, he is the absolute quintessence of moral excellence, infinitely perfect in righteousness, purity, rectitude, and incomprehensible holiness. And in all this he is uncreated, self-sufficient, and beyond the power of human thought to conceive or human speech to utter. Through the self-revelation of the living God in the Scriptures and the illumination of the Holy Spirit, the Christian gains everything and loses nothing to his idea of God. There are added the twin concepts of personality and moral character, but there remains the original sense of wonder and fear in the presence of the world-filling mystery. Today's heart may leap up with the happy cry, Abba, Father, my Lord and my God. Tomorrow he may kneel with the delighted trembling to admire and adore the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity. Holy is the way the living God is. To be holy, he does not conform to a standard. He is that standard. He is absolutely holy with an infinite, incomprehensible fullness of purity that is incapable of being other than it is. Because he is holy. His attributes are holy. That is, whatever we think of as belonging to God must be thought of as holy. God is holy, and he has made holiness the moral condition necessary to the health of his universe. Since temporary presence in the world only accents this. Whatever is holy is healthy, evil is a moral sickness. That is how we need to see it. That must end ultimately in death. The formation of the language itself suggests this. The English word holy deriving from the Anglo-Saxon halich, hal, meaning well and whole. Since God's first concern for his universe is its moral health, that is, its holiness, whatever is contrary to this is necessarily under his eternal displeasure. To preserve his creation, the living God must destroy whatever would destroy it. When he arises to put down iniquity and save the world from irreparable moral collapse, he is said to be angry. Every wrathful judgment in the history of the world has been a holy act of preservation. The holiness of the living God, the wrath of the living God, and the health of the creation are inseparably united. God's wrath is his utter intolerance of whatever degrades and destroys. He hates iniquity as a mother hates the polio that take the life of her child. God is holy with an absolute holiness that knows no degrees, and this he cannot impart to his creatures. But there is a relative and contingent holiness which he shares with angels and seraphim and cherubim in heaven, and with redeemed men on earth as their preparation for heaven. This holiness God can and does impart to his children. He shares it with them by imputation and by impartation. And because he has made it available to them through the blood of the Lamb, he requires it of them, to Israel first and later to his entire church. God spoke, saying, "Be ye holy, for I am holy." He did not say, "Be ye as holy as I am holy," for that would be to demand of us absolute holiness, something that belongs to God alone. Before the uncreated fire of God's holiness, angels veil their faces. Ye, the heavens are not clean, and the stars are not pure in his sight. No honest man can say, "I am holy," but neither is any honest man willing to ignore the solemn words of the inspired writer. Follow peace with all men, and holiness without which no man shall see the Lord. Caught in this dilemma, what are we Christians to do? We must, like Moses, cover ourselves with faith and humility while we steal a quick look at the God whom no man can see and live. The broken and the contrite heart he will not despise. We must hide our unholiness in the wounds of Christ, as Moses hid himself in the cleft of the rock while the glory of the living God passed by. We must take refuge from God in God. Above all, we must believe that God sees us perfect in His Son. While He disciplines and chastens and purges us, that we may be partakers of His holiness. He is pruning us constantly. By faith and obedience, by constant meditation on the holiness of God, by loving righteousness and hating iniquities, by a growing acquaintance with the spirit of holiness, we can acclimate ourselves to the fellowship of the saints on earth and prepare ourselves for the eternal companionship of the living God and the saints above. Thus, as they say, when humble believers meet, we will have a heaven to go to heaven in. How dread are thine eternal years, O everlasting Lord! By prostrate spirits day and night incessantly adored. How beautiful, the sight of thee must be, thine endless wisdom, boundless power, and an awful purity. Oh, how I fear thee, living God, with deepest, tenderest fears, and worship thee with trembling hope and penitential tears. Little poem song done by Frederick W. Faber. And with this said, I have come to the end of reading this chapter 21. And thank you for listening, and God bless you.